Hi guys, I don't know if you've ever had this same experience, but for me, for a long time, I didn't know anyone else who knit. I was the only person that I knew who knew how to knit. And it took a long time before I put myself out there to meet other people who also knew how to knit. So today, in today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about community and finding people that just get you. Hi guys, welcome. Thanks for being here. My name is Felicia from SweetGeorgia, and every week I come here for this vlog called Taking Back Friday, and I give you a catch-up rundown of all the things that we're working on at SweetGeorgia, all the things that I'm doing at the School of SweetGeorgia, and all the things that I'm knitting and making in my personal life. So this is basically the video format of the blog that I started writing back in 2004. So thank you guys so much for being here and for joining in week after week to watch these episodes. So as I was saying at the top of this video, for a long time, I didn't know anyone else who knit. I was the only person that I knew who knew how to do this. Like, I started knitting in maybe grade 5, grade 6, and there was no one in elementary school that I knew who knew how to knit. I knit all through high school. When I started university, again, I just didn't encounter other knitters. I'm sure that they were out there. I just didn't know how to find them or how to reach them. And it was maybe a couple of years into my whole knitting revival when I was in my mid-20s that I checked out a site called meetup.com. I think the site must be still around now, but it was called meetup.com. And there were groups of people meeting up in coffee shops. And so I joined the Knitters one that was local to Vancouver, and I went to 2 meetings. And in those course of those 2 meetings, I ended up meeting Alexa Ludeman and Emily Wessel from Tin Can Knits. And they weren't Tin Can Knits yet. They were just friends who knew how to knit. And I think through, I think it was only a couple of years later that Tin Can Knits as a design partnership actually came out of their friendship. And so I think about this because you never really know where things will take you. You never really know how interactions will change you, how conversations with people will change you, how just a simple meeting once a month at a coffee shop might actually change the course of your entire life. And so I guess what I've learned is that life is better when you do it with other people, but also that the people that you surround yourself with, the community that surrounds you, they are absolutely instrumental in pushing you forward, guiding you, helping you, encouraging you, supporting you in all the things that you want to do. So if you want to learn knitting, if you want to learn spinning, you want to learn weaving, it's really helpful to surround yourself with people who also enjoy the same things, who don't think that your fiber geekiness is weird, or, who don't make raised eyebrows when you talk about washing sheep fleece and all those kinds of things. Like, you just want to be with people who just get you, who understand what you're talking about. So these days, it is a little bit more challenging for me to get out and go out in the evenings because I have kids to take care of at home and all these kinds of things, but I still do try to get out every so often because I find that it is really important to get out to these events. And when I go to these events, I'm positively giddy as I drive to them. And then as I go home, I always feel filled up. I always feel inspired and encouraged. I know that at the last spinning night that we had at the studio a couple weeks ago, we actually shut down and everybody went home, but then a couple of us still stood around in the parking lot for an hour talking about other things because there's just so much to share with these people who understand you. So this is all to say that this week we launched our 4th issue of Make and Hue on our website. So if you go to the SweetGeorgia website, you'll be able to find our Make and Hue magazine, blogazine. I'm not really sure what we call it, but it's basically a collection of stories, a collection of personal stories and posts that we put together kind of in a magazine format. And so you can download this as a PDF, or you can just go and read all of the individual stories on our website. But in any case, we launched that this week, so you can go find it there on the website. And this issue is all about community. So it's really about our personal stories of finding community, trying to grow within our community, trying to learn in our community. A couple of the contributors, like Tabitha, who you know is our design director, a couple of years ago, she moved from Colorado to Tennessee. And so she had to give up a knitting community that she was already very much in and pick herself up, go to somewhere completely new where she didn't know anyone and try to meet new knitting friends. It's quite intimidating. And similar for Alison, who is our rep in the UK. She is originally from Canada, and then she moved to London a couple of years ago, several years ago. And so she had to rediscover a whole new tribe of people that were also interested in knitting and spinning and the same things that she was. And as well, I talk about the blanket, this baby blanket, amazingly beautiful baby blanket that was made for me when baby Nina was born. That's 2.5 years ago. And a bunch of knitters and spinners in our local community got together and made me this blanket. And it's all different squares that have been hand spun, hand knitted, and then all pieced together in a giant blanket that is still going strong after 2.5 years. It lives up here in our playroom in the attic here with the kids. And then the other article that I wrote is basically about learning together with other people in community. So the fact that it's very difficult to sort of, just absorb a whole bunch of online course content and try to make sense of it all by yourself and try to figure it out. I know I've been doing that for many years, just trying to learn things at a distance and trying to figure things out on my own. And it is immensely more effective when you do it in a group together with other people. And so I talk a little bit about what I'm trying to do with the School of SweetGeorgia, which is, to provide the content and the educational content in video format, but then also to back that up with a whole community discussion forum, community features, so that people can connect with each other and encourage each other and share their successes and work through their challenges as well. And so one more story about surrounding yourself with people who share your passions. This story comes from Joanne Mulligan, who's a friend of mine, and it didn't make it into the issue of Making Hue, but I wanted to tell you about the story here. Basically, Joanne went on a massive, epic hike with many of her girlfriends this past summer. And for all the girls who went on this big, massive, epic hike in Italy, she knit these hats. So she knit a hat for everyone, and this hat is called the Runner's Watch Cap, and it's designed by Susie Dipple, and she's got little labels here that say DD 2018, and this hat has been knit out of the Fizzy Water colorway in our Tough Love sock from SweetGeorgia. So she made a whole bunch of these hats, and I'm going to show you a few of the snapshots that she took on the hike and tell you what she had to say about it. She writes to me, Felicia, my trip was special because it was an exhilarating hike with wonderful women. We laughed, talked, walked silently together sometimes when we were tired, and supported one another. It was extremely peaceful in the mountains. The days were simple routines filled with hiking, eating, and enjoying each other's company. It was really fun to plan the trip together. I decided in June to knit hats as a surprise for my friends. The label had the route on it, so it could be kept as a keepsake, and the hat was perfect for the cool mornings and evenings. Everyone loved the color of the wool, and I felt so much joy when everyone wore them. I feel fortunate to have had this opportunity. The hike was called Alta Via 1, and it is in the Dolomites. We hiked for 8 days, 110 kilometers, and over 7,000 meters of climbing. The hat label says DD 2018, and it stands for Dolomiti Divas. The hat pattern credits go to Susie Dipple, and it is the Runner's Watch Cap pattern with just a few adjustments. So I love that story because Joanne's friends who did the hiking with her weren't necessarily knitters, but somehow she was able to share her passion for knitting and for color and for making these hats for everybody. She was able to share her love of knitting with all of her friends. And so they have this really beautiful shared experience with the things that they're passionate about, and she gets to share her singular passion as well. So if you're interested in any of those stories about community, about finding your knitter people, I do highly encourage you guys to check out the website, sweetgeorgiayarns.com, to see if you can find the Making Hue issue. Now, speaking of doing things with other people, I am very excited to say that I have been invited by a bunch of knitters and spinners and weavers to join them on a little mini weekend retreat. I mean, I have gone on retreats before to teach, to be the instructor and all of that kind of thing, and that's wonderful. But this will be so exciting to be able to just go and just enjoy and just spend a whole weekend not doing anything except thinking about what I'm making. It seems like such a crazy luxury, but I'm actually really, really looking forward to it. And so I've been thinking in my head, what am I going to take on this trip? What am I going to, what projects am I going to pack for this weekend of making things? And I think I'm going to bring my matchless wheel to spin on. I'm going to bring my knitting projects, and I have plans to bring my rigid heddle loom. So I'm going to try and warp it this week before it gets, before we go. But I'm thinking that already might be a little bit of overkill. I think I might already be packing far too many things to go on a retreat. But I'm just so excited about the potential of doing things. Yeah. So finally, just to share with you guys what I have actually been knitting and working on. Last week, I talked about this idea of doing a palette cleanser project, right? So some kind of small little project that I'm going to knit in between bigger, more intense sweater projects. Well, I finished the Tulamine mystery shawl. That just needs to be blocked. And I said I was going to knit the Sweet Felicia hat using the worsted in mulberry. And so I did. I started, but then pretty much immediately after I started, I forgot my entire project bag at the studio when we were having a potluck last week. And I couldn't get back to the studio to pick it up for several days. So I had to start something new. So in the meantime, I started another project. And so the other project is using that chili chocolate color that I've been talking about for a long time. I really wanted to do something with that. And so I decided to build some things around it. And I started knitting this shawl. Okay, so let me show you guys this shawl. I should probably get a longer needle so you can see it all. But I hope you can kind of get the idea. Let's go to this side. So I hope you guys get the idea, but basically this shawl uses 3 colors. It's meant to be a worsted weight shawl, and it's meant to go really, really quite quickly. I am using our SweetGeorgia Tough Love sock, and I just hold it doubled to get that worsted weight. And I'm doing this partly because I have so much sock yarn that I'm trying to use. And I really like when you hold 2 strands together, because with the hand-dyed color, it really helps mix and blend a lot of that together. So even though this color already looks kind of like glazed and mottled and all that kind of stuff, by holding 2 ends together, I find like it makes the color mixing and blending here a little bit nicer, a little bit smoother. So I'm quite enjoying that. I'm looking forward to seeing how this all blocks out. I think it's going to be actually really cozy and warm and wonderful. And so yeah, just a couple of weeks ago, I was talking with Bridget at Knit City when we were setting up, and we were talking about how October comes, November, you know, fall comes around, and it's all pumpkin spice latte time. You just crave pumpkin pie and pumpkin muffins and pumpkin spice latte and pumpkin chai latte. You just crave that. But I know that with the pumpkin spice latte, every time I crave it and then I actually drink it, I feel sick afterwards. I feel really just gross. So this is like pumpkin spice in a shawl. So I'm really, really enjoying this because it's kind of like I get to have my pumpkin spice fix. It's almost like I can smell it. Yeah, this is my pumpkin spice fix without actually making me feel horrible. This is wonderful. So I'm really liking this. This color down here, this lighter color, this is actually a lighter version of our fauna color that we have, which is kind of like a splashy, warm brown kind of colorway. We're making a lighter version of this, and this is going to come out in the spring. I think we're calling it fawn. I can't remember, but we're making lighter versions of the mango ice, the fauna, and the rainbow sprinkles because I find that they just work really well in combination with other things. I like splashy yarns, but I don't like that high contrast, really erratic kind of splashiness. So I find that this delicate splashiness feels more workable for me. It feels more comfortable. I feel like it's got just enough stuff happening that it draws you in without being annoying, without being distracting, without being too distracting. Yeah. So that is the shawl that I'm working on right now. And then I'm also working on the thing that is behind me. So I'm working on the blanket that is going on this big loom here. You can see I've actually already tied up one of the warps, and then I have 4 more warps to go. So that's another project that's on the go, but that's something I can only do when I'm upstairs in the attic. This I am knitting literally all day long. Yeah, I can't put it down. So that's it for this week, guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. I would love to hear from you guys in the comments. Tell me a little bit about your knitting group. If you have a knitting group, if you have a knit night that you go to, or do you just hang out online in online communities for crafts, or do you just not knit with anyone? Do you just do it on your own? I'm just so curious to hear about your stories and your experiences, you know, how you've gone out to find knitting friends if you need knitting friends, or how you meet people online for knitting, or, you know, how you find other people to learn these crafts with. I'm super interested in hearing about your stories. So yes, please leave me a comment below. I would love to hear from you. So that's it for this week. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you like this episode, please hit the like button. And if you would like to see more videos like this, please hit subscribe and you will be notified when videos like this show up. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. All right, bye.